Welcome, and thanks for joining us for the Albion Obsessed podcast. I'm Dagan, and with me today is Alex, Chloe, and Joe. Alex, how are you, my friend?
Very good. Thanks, Dagan. Can't complain. Another 3 points and away from home. So looking forward to talking about this one.
Chloe, what about you? Back from a long journey.
Yeah, I just finished walking down the steps at St. James's Park about 5 minutes ago, so great to be here.
It's lovely. Joe, what about you, my friend? Little horse today.
Yeah, a little bit. It's gotten better as the day's gone on, but you might hear me squeak every now and then, and that's just my voice breaking at the ripe old age of 29. So yeah, we're all good. We're surviving. But yeah, look at that, Dagan. You're a host, man. What's going on here?
It's a little surreal, strange. I don't know how to feel about it, but I'll do my best. There was a football match played. I'm told I witnessed all of it after the fact. Some of you probably witnessed it in real time, and I want to hear all about it. But first, before the match began, a team sheet, a curious one. What were your first thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, it was a head scratcher, right? Back to the old Graham Potter days of spending 10 minutes before the match trying to work out where everyone was. It wasn't until I think it was the ESPN someone put it was going to be 4-3-1-2, which I think is what it was when we started, and that kind of made sense, I guess. I mean, it's very different approach to what we've been used to so far this season. I don't think we've seen Hürzeler do anything quite like this before, and that obviously made people nervous. I mean, I was sitting at home chatting on socials, obviously not lucky enough to be in the stadium, but yeah, I think it was a bit of a everyone was a bit weirded out by it, but yeah, turned out all right.
Chloe, was there anyone for you that you were especially excited to see in the team sheet or concerned about seeing in the team sheet?
I was a bit concerned by the lack of width. I thought we didn't have any wingers really, and I was a bit worried that would hurt us. It was nice to see Van Heck back on the bench. Obviously, he's been out injured, and he is such an important player for us, like one of the most important players, I would say. And I do think there was lots of quality on the bench, so that was good to see. But yeah, I was worried by the lack of width.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on both those points regarding the width and JP being back. Joe, what about you? What about the starting 11? How did you feel?
I was doing my classic thing of pretending not to care because I try and protect myself before every game, and I'm like, oh no, it's Newcastle away. We're probably going to lose. It'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry. Just move on. We got a home game against Wolves the week after. We can put this to the back. But obviously, what happened was amazing. I was very happy to see Yasin Ayari get the start. I think in pre-season and at the start of this season when called upon, has been a real class player, and I think he showed moments of quality and moments of why Fabian Hürzeler will put him into a team sheet as and when needed, because I think he's an extremely capable sort of, I don't want to call him a fringe player because I don't think he's an up-and-coming player, isn't he? He's young, he's exciting, and someone that we want in and around the squad to get that experience. And when he has that experience at St. James's Park and that responsibility as well on his young shoulders, it can only be a good thing. So, yeah, I was really happy to see him get the nod. But what about you, Dagan? You're the ever optimist of the podcast, but yeah, what did you think?
I was worried. That's what I thought. I was worried about Anthony Gordon and the fact that Isak was back. The combination of those two, Veltman is Veltman. There were a couple instances where, the referee could have decided to adjudicate Veltman's chicanery in different ways, typically involving Gordon over there on that side. And yeah, I thought, it broke our way. Like, there's so many things in this game. There'll be a running theme, but I just feel like we got some breaks. We also put ourselves in position to have those breaks. So more for later. Alex, unusual. You hit the nail on the head. Not what we've typically seen as you watch the sort of opening 15 to 20 minutes of the game, what were you thinking?
Yeah, we soaked up pressure, right? we soaked up a lot of pressure. It was a sponge 20 minutes, where I think we only kind of got out of our own half a couple of times. It was a bit concerning. But having said that, we were soaking it up. And the defensive performance, I mean, I think Bart was a little bit shaky at the beginning in possession. There were a couple of moments, just very, very much at the beginning, where he looked a little bit shaky in possession. He nearly got caught on the ball. And I was a bit like, oh, no, Bart's going to have an off day. This is going to be terrible. And how wrong was I about that? I mean, and the defense just looked like they've been playing together for years. I mean, it was great. It was really, really good. Everyone knew their job. The organization was just amazing. Yeah, they were getting through, but at the end of the first half, I think they had only had one more shot on goal than us. So, there was lots of possession in our half, lots of touches in our box, but coming to nothing. And when you look at some of the defensive stats, I mean, Dunk had 9 clearances and 4 blocked shots in the entire match. You just think that's the kind of performance we were looking for, when we come up to a ground like St James's Park against such a talented team. It was concerning, but then not concerning. I kind of felt like it was good solid display.
Chloe, you were there. St. James Park, always up for it. You have to imagine they're expecting a frenetic up and down game, something like they saw us play at Stamford Bridge not that long ago. What was the atmosphere like? How were the Newcastle fans? How were our fans? What was it like in the stands in that period that Alex was just talking about to start the game?
Yeah, I think at the very start of the game, we were all up for it. We're all singing. I do think it was a bit nervy early on because they were very much on top and we were riding our luck a little bit. But I think certainly when we scored and after the goal, we were very much singing our hearts out. And I think as well, you sort of feel like when you're in the ground, I always say it's easier to watch it in the ground because you feel like you can impact the game. If you're singing, you feel like that's going to lift the team, it's going to make them perform better. And honestly, it probably makes a bit of a difference because they say we're the 12th man. But you feel like you can impact it. So you obviously try and sing and try and.
It was one of the first times watching here on TV that I could hear our fans completely drowning out the opposition fans in their own building, which was really, really something, especially late in the game. And it wasn't like it was, the game was decided. We were up 3-0. It was very much in question to the last kick of the ball. But yeah, I can't wait to hear a little bit more a little later about, just how it was at the tenuous end, their crowd begging for it for sure. Joe, what do you think of what did you think of our manager? We're like 2 games removed from, he tries the same thing, it's not working. He's not up for the Premier League, but the sky was falling after Chelsea. What do you make of it now?
We're 8 Premier League games in, so again we can't get too carried away. But this is clearly a coach who is very, very willing to learn alongside his players. Does anyone know how old he is? No, I'm not going to do that again. It's a coach that's very willing to learn, very willing to try new things, and I think knows that his players have got more in them to put in a performance like they need to sometimes, not particularly the way that Fabian Hürzeler wants to play and wants his team to look like, but how Fabian Hürzeler thinks that how his team can win the game. I think that's a really interesting sort of thing for fans to maybe shift their focus on, is that, it's not necessarily about the style, the brand. I don't think that is high on Fabian Hürzeler's list, that he wants to be that manager to say, I'm going to have this much of an impact. on the game as a whole, I'm going to have this much impact on my team, and they're going to succeed in however which way I see them succeeding. Whether that's playing a low block against I wouldn't really call it a low block, but defending your hearts out when you have to and winning ugly. I love that, and it's a massively different side to what we've seen probably in the last four or 5 seasons. We really haven't seen that sort of defensive togetherness and resilience. So to see that we've got that edge just gives me even more confidence that we can go on to do something really special, because we haven't been incredibly lovely to watch this season at all, but we're getting wins when the odds are against us. And Fabian Hürzeler said after the game, defense wins championships. Why not? Can I just remind people as well that after 8 games in the Leicester champions winning season, they had 15 points. So do we. So,
yeah, and I think sat 5th as well, if I remember seeing that graphic correctly. Yeah, Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Once again, it's a bit of idealism versus pragmatism, and I think Fabian has the idealist in him, but his will to win is greater than his will to play beautifully. And I think that's what we're seeing be on display. From the moment we took the lead against Spurs, he shifted on a dime and went from playing beautiful attacking football to being resolute in defense. In this game, I can't wait to talk about the end of the game, because he made some even more dramatic changes, the likes of which we have not seen. I don't think we've seen since I've been watching, but we'll talk more later. Alex, we did in fact score a goal. Can you break that down? Walk us through what happened? Yeah. Talk to me.
Who else but that guy, right? I mean, unbelievable. What I can't. I mean, you can't believe that. And I know we talk about Hürzeler's age, but Danny's age, and when he came here, his track record with injury and his goal scoring track record, to be honest, was a concern. And you've got someone in, you think, yeah, he's going to be a decent sub. He's going to come on. He's probably going to play those sub roles, come on, maybe get a sneaky one now and then. But to see him move, shift through and grow, and his confidence grow, and his strength in his body and his trust in his body, I think now he's got to an age where, he knows what his limits are, and but where his limits aren't is in his head and the way he watches the game, and just his tenacity on the ball as well. There's been a few times this season where he's just gone for it. He's just, the ball's stuck to his foot and he just charges through. And I don't really think we saw that before, or at least not, effectively from Danny Welbeck in previous seasons. I mean, the goal was a classic, wasn't it? Was it Donkey straight up to Rutter and then Rutter through to Welbeck? I mean, it's just a classic counter-attacking, one of our great goals. A great, ball through from Dunk, and then Rutter does what he needs to do. And then Welbeck charges through and passes it into the back of the net, really. He'd done the hard work, hadn't he? And all he needed to do was just shift it in his side of his foot into the goal. Just brilliant. So good to see him firing, and I couldn't be happy. It's not a nicer guy, in our team, I think, and he deserves everything. Fingers crossed, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but it looks like he's going to be okay, or it's not going to be a long-term injury anyway. So fingers crossed for that. And I'm sure we'll hear a bit more at the weekend, but yeah, so happy for him.
Yeah, it was Dunk taking it quickly, over the top to Welbeck, who played it to Jorginho, who played it back, and Welbeck made a run. So it was a little 1-2 give and go. Beautiful piece of work. Chloe, you remarked in the middle of the game, you might have a new favorite player, one involved in that sequence. Talk to me about Jorginho, what you're seeing from him on the pitch, why he's becoming near and dear to your heart.
I just love the fight he has. He just fights for the ball. When he doesn't have it defensively, he'll fight for it. And even when he's got the ball, he's sort of so strong, stays on his feet. And that was a great ball he played for WELBECK, and I actually really love the partnership that seems to be forming between WELBECK and Jorginho. They seem to play off each other really well. So hopefully that continues for a while.
Yeah, there's a little us against the world feeling to this group and the way they react every time they score. It's just a little bit different. Yeah, just mark that down. But that his effort and enthusiasm and energy, and there's a positivity to Jorginho that just emanates from him at all times. Fun to see. Joe, we got a goal, and then we didn't allow any. What in the world? It's unbelievable. What is that called when the other team doesn't score? Does that have a name? I'm unfamiliar.
I don't know. I don't know how it's pronounced, Dagan. Someone might have to tell me. But we've had a lot of them this season already. We're 8 games in, so we are showing again that defensive nous that we can, put our bodies on the line and stop the balls from going in. That's the whole point of football, right? You score, they don't, and it's great that we've got that. And yeah, I mean, talk about the goal just very quickly and Danny Welbeck's impact. I mean, I tweeted out after the game, how close is Danny Welbeck to being an Albion legend? I think he's scored so many incredibly important goals for us. And Tom always talks about legend defining an era. When I look back at the last 4 seasons in the Premier League, Danny Welbeck is well up there as one of the players that has been so important to us. I remember the lockdown season when he first came in, and I agree with you, Alex. It was like, we're getting Danny Welbeck. He's, England retirement home begins now. We had Lallana as well, who also was really good for us. But even then, I tweeted out a goal that Danny Welbeck scored against Leeds during lockdown, and it was one of the best technical goals I've ever seen in my life. He takes the ball out of the air with one touch, takes 2 defenders out of the game, and drills the ball across the face of the goal. And when you play a game like we played against Newcastle, when you do only have 1, 2, 3 really good opportunities, you need a guy like Danny Welbeck who's going to be there to finish it. And I know a lot of people will be, a season ago, Danny Welbeck wouldn't have been that guy to be really clinical and he would sort of squander quite a few chances. But now we're seeing a different beast and he just looks really clinical. I mean, Harry said in the chat that the Haaland versus Welbeck Golden Boot race is going to be generational. I'm very glad that Danny Welbeck will hopefully be back very soon, so he can continue this incredible reign of form. And why can't he get double figures by the end of the season? I think he's well on course to do that.
Fair enough. No, Welbeck has been impressive. Hope he makes a speedy return for sure. Adrian in the chat, Bart was a wall. I think that's a fair assertion. Despite that, there were some moments where he really had to prove his worth. Were there times after our goal, and I'll ask this question of all 3 of you, where you were concerned, where you worried the tide might be shifting and they were going to find a way through? Or were you as resolute as our defense that we would not crack? Alex, I'll start with you. You seem to be thinking about it.
I tell you what, I'd be more worried. I'd be more concerned. And it was like, it just seemed like as good as we were and as organised as we were, they weren't having their best day at all, were they? And actually, if you look at Newcastle's results and their form and actually how they're doing, you could see perhaps that they were there for the taking, and perhaps some of their results hadn't been as good. They certainly hadn't played, I don't think, as difficult matches as us in the league, and they'd got a couple of draws as well. Very similar form to us coming into the match without having played as many kind of top Sky 6 teams, whatever we want to call them. So I mean, Gordon's always a threat, isn't he? But Gumeri's, there's a lot of fouls as well in the first half that I think, Burn picked up a yellow card very early on. And you just thought, I don't know, they're not playing to their strengths in a way, I don't think. They didn't seem to have freedom. They didn't seem to click, which quite often we say about us. I mean, it looked like one of our performances. But, and someone was saying in a chat somewhere, I can't remember where, but like, is it this is one of our worst performances ever in the first 20 minutes? And I was like, no, we were a lot worse against Tottenham in the first half. I think that was we looked far shakier and far less organised and far less aware of the plan. And I just thought Newcastle didn't click, and I thought we were exceptional in terms of that defensive performance. So yeah, I've been more worried, but there was always a threat. Always a threat, isn't there?
Yeah. What about you, Chloe? You were there. You felt it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever checked the clock so much during a match, because at 1-0, you always feel like they could get back into it. And even at the end, it's like, if I would have taken a draw before the match, but when you're 1-0 up for most of the game, you don't want that. You want to win. And yeah, I definitely feel it was very nervy. And I think our defence did a really good job, and Bart was outstanding to not concede any goals, because they've got some good players, Newcastle, and maybe on a different day they would have scored, but yeah, I was very nervous for most of the game.
Fair enough. What about you, Joe? What was your take? Was there a moment for you where you thought it was all going to slip away?
As I say, my mentality with Brighton, especially in the last few years, is that I really try not to care, but I do so deeply. So when I sit there, I'm like, well, whatever, it's going to be fine. As I said before, when the team sheet was announced and, people were losing their heads about it, and I'm thinking, well, the worst thing is we're going to lose a football game. So I'm trying to bring a level of calm to myself when I watch football. Doesn't work, Dagan. It really doesn't. But as the game went on, as Alex alluded to, I just felt like we were just dealing with it. And come about the 65th minute, I found myself weirdly enjoying it. The fact that we were just literally, Bart was just a magnet to the ball. Our defenders were defending incredibly well. And that, you always worry when you see 9 minutes added on, and, the momentum can shift so easily if they get a course of a few corners, or, the fans knowing that they've only got a matter of minutes to tie the game or to even go on to win the game. That momentum shift can happen very quickly, and it can happen very quickly at St. James's Park, even more so. But I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bart Verbruggen spoke after the game, excuse me, about knowing how fragile the mentality of the Newcastle crowd were, and the fact that they wanted that first 20, 30 minutes to just be absolute shithousery and just see them out, kill the atmosphere, kill the momentum, and kill their mood. And that's what we did.
No, exactly that. Those comments post-game, it was very clear that was the game plan. We were so resolute, and so there was such a sense of urgency throughout. It just seemed like anytime they got a chance, there were two guys flying around to get there, where in the past we've seen what looked like almost apathy, guys just not making those moves in a way that was decisive. So it was incredible to see. I will admit, I was terrified at the set pieces. I thought for sure they were going to find a way through. I think it was Kadioglu late that gave away 1 or 2 free kicks in dangerous spots that I just thought, oh, sure, okay, this is it. And then the last corner at the death, I was, surely Dan Burns going to come flying in and score a equalizing header and crush our hearts. I just, usually I'm the optimist, but I was worried. I was standing at Kennedy's game watching on YouTube TV during warmups.
Do you think, Dagan,
What's that?
That shift in your mood was the fact that we were playing that way. And
Yeah.
you've watched Brighton play beautiful football as when you've been a fan of us, and you're very optimistic and confident about how we go about playing that brand. And then you're seeing Fabian Hürzeler shift that mentality on the pitch and like all players. So yeah, I think maybe we'll see a new Dagan under Fabian Hürzeler.
I don't know. It was I just felt like we were getting pelted. You know what I mean? It was just like we're just getting peppered with shots, constant activity around the box. They had so much possession, and it's just we're not used to seeing that. But we won a game where we ended up, what do we have, like 33% possession or something? Like it's not our typical brand. But really exciting. I don't know if we're there. It feels like we're there. Should we talk about men of the match at this point?
I want to ask Chloe very quickly about what was that relief moment like when Bart claimed that corner at the end.
Oh yeah,
that must have been unreal.
Yeah, the relief I felt when I saw him catch that, because first you have the free kick, which felt very dangerous. Like late on, it was in such a good position for them, and that goes out for a corner, and you're like, oh god, now they've got a corner, they can score from that. And I never feel like that when we have a corner. I never think we're going to score when we have a corner, but when they do, I'm certain it's going to end up in the back of the net. But yeah, it was just the relief I remember feeling. It was like, yes, that's it, we've won the game. And then I think it was not long after the final whistle went, and it's just, yes, we've won it, 1-0 up the Albion. And I just, yeah, it was kind of like scoring again, I guess. It felt like, because it felt like that killed the game. That's it, we've won.
Yeah, first loss for them at home since City back in, I think, January. So quite a feat to go there and come away with 3 points. Alex?
Yeah, I was just going to say about you were saying about the shots and target. I just want to say about like the efficiency. Like Newcastle had 45 touches in our area, yeah, compared to our 12 in theirs. And out of that 45 touches in our area, they got 6 shots on target. And out of our 12, we got 5. So I think that really shows the efficiency of the play. I mean, that is ridiculous stat, right? 45 touches in our area and only to get that number of shots on target. And then, you look at our pass accuracy was a bit higher. And, with Dunk's stats, with all those blocks and everything, real standout defensive performance in the area to stop them even getting those shots away. So really, really efficient from Brighton as well in the fact that out of those few touches, we got those number of shots away and we got one in. So I think that's really, really bodes well for us.
Well, I've got questions beyond man of the match. Don't worry. So I want to hear man of the match. And I offer up, this might be a game where you need the whole podium like I typically do, but you can just choose one if you would like. But if you need to use the podium to stretch out your time and comments and highlight 3 players, feel free. Who wants to start? I won't push in order. Joe's ready. Go, Joe.
Let's go. All right. Let's start with my third place. Goes to Igor Julio, the man with thunder thighs, the man that I'm terrified of every time I see him, but seems to be the nicest guy ever. Again, one of those guys that just has an infectious personality, I think, in the videos that we see and how he celebrates wins with the team. I love it. But there's a reason why I chose him. It's because he was part of an extremely good defensive unit alongside my second place, Lewis Dunk, who I feel like whenever he has a good performance, it's just expected. It's Lewis Dunk. Of course, he's played well, but I think we have to highlight the fact that he was an absolute colossus in that game, and he was just, calmly getting the ball back to Bart when he had to, the pass up to Danny Welbeck for the goal, going route one when he had to, playing different ways when he had to, and just really taking on probably what the manager wanted on the pitch, and that's what you want your captain to do. You want them to take that message from the manager in the dressing room and have that applied across all 11 positions on the pitch. And Lewis Dunk did that perfectly. And my man of the match comes as no surprise, Bart Verbruggen. I mean, we are so lucky to have this guy. I don't know how long we're going to have this guy for if he keeps on putting in performances like that. But he is a goalkeeper, and to try and not sound like Harry Redknapp, but he is going right to the very top. He is going to be one of the world's best goalkeepers, hands down. So let's enjoy him whilst he's here, and hopefully that's for a long time. But yeah, that's my podium of like a back three triangle. There you go.
Chloe, you want to go next? We'll go in reverse order.
I'm not going to do a podium. I think for me, Bart Verbruggen was the standout player. He was our man of the match. You know, he kept us in that game several times. He made quite impressive saves. I think the one-on-one with Isaac was quite a notable one just before our goal. And yeah, I definitely think he was our man of the match. And I just think it was an outstanding team performance by everyone else. So I'm not going to pick anyone out as being especially good, because I just think it was a very good unit, especially defensively.
Can I talk about, just very quickly before we go to Alex, a tweet by Andy Naylor just before our goal was, "It's only a matter of time before Newcastle score." And then I got I got the notification that Brighton put that guy. So I was like, well, that's just great.
Very nice. All right, Alex. What's
so first of all, I guess in the chat we've had Phil say Rutter, Verbruggen, and Dunk. Good picks, Phil. Rodders has gone for Bart, Belieber, and Dunk. So I think actually Belieber's someone who we haven't talked about much this pod, and again he had a very, very solid display. Not quite as adventurous as he usually is, but still certainly linking it up. And again, you know, his usual tenacious, energetic, everywhere, all over the pitch play. So yeah, definitely part of that very, very good team performance. One thing I will say is there was one player who didn't particularly shine, and that was Evan Ferguson. And I think, you know, he did go missing for, you know, most of the first half. I saw him track back a bit and try and get defensively. He seemed to be kind of a little bit out of position. Just looks off the pace. And I really hope he gets his form back soon. I think we all do. We'd all love to see a full strength Evan firing and finding his positions again. So fingers crossed for Ev. It's so difficult. I mean, yeah, Bart's the number one, no doubt about that. But I'm gonna give a shout out to Dunk, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Yari. And if you haven't seen it yet on the socials, there's a little compilation of his nutmegs. I think he pulled off like 3 nutmegs, and they were all just brilliant. And I've got to admit, I probably didn't see them at the time because they were so quick. And when you look at something, you're just like, oh my gosh. But that guy, he really has, you know, he's growing on me a lot. At first, I was a little bit dubious about him, you know, his stature, you know, where he plays in the park and whether he's going to be strong enough. He's got another one of these great minds, and you can see why Hürzeler loves him. He's adventurous, he's dynamic, he's tenacious, and he's skillful. And I think he's going to do really, really well. And again, the competition we have in the squad this season, you know, you talk about Jorginho and JP, Yari, and, you know, with Hinchelwood in there, with Belieber in there, with Vifa in there. There's real competition this season for those places. And like Chloe said, that raises everyone's game, but it also makes our subs bench look a lot better than it has done in a long, long time. So, yeah, that's my shout out, little Yari.
Alex, you mentioning Jack Hinchelwood just reminded me of a little shithousery moment that I think we need to talk about. I think he gets bundled sort of like off of the pitch as he's trying to win the ball. I don't know, maybe trying to win us a corner or something, but it goes out for a Newcastle goal kick. Or a free kick to Newcastle, one or the other. And Jack Hinchelwood wants to stop them from playing the ball quickly so he can get back into position. So as he's coming back onto the pitch, he trips over the spare ball and knocks it onto the pitch. So the referee has to stop the game to get the ball off the pitch so he can get back in position. I love all of these dark arts that are coming into our team because it's about time we had a dickhead, and he's our dickhead.
Yeah, I noticed he was having a bit of a laugh with Dan Byrne at one point when they got tangled up in the corner. I don't know if it was the same sequence or another one. I was going to mention Jack Hinchelwood. I thought he was like a second Baleba. Like they were both all over the place, just cleaning up all kinds of messes. I was like, this is a incredible two-headed monster that's running around the center of the park for us. And not to mention that, I mean, talking about Evan, he was tracking all the way back. I mean, we had every player behind the ball at different points of this game, including in the first, 30 minutes. I've just not seen that from us. I want to give the man of the match to our manager more than anything else here, but just because no one has given it to him outright, for me, it's Dunk. There are not many guys in the Premier League that can deliver that pass and would have the audacity to take that kick that quickly, and that was the goal. So to me, Bart earns us at least a draw in that game, but Dunk won the game for us. And so I'm going to give him the man of the match. Bart was sensational, and without him, we're not in position to do that. So it's a flip of a coin really for me. But the Welbeck just pushing through and finishing, right? I mean, he was sensational too. So so many players to highlight. Chloe, I think you're right. You could go on and on talking about, the total team effort. And for me, it's the buy-in in the system. Everybody saying, yeah, we're going to hunker down and we're going to defend and we're going to eke out a 1-0 win on the road. Just haven't seen that from us. It's just really, really encouraging for me. Which takes me to another point. So, I know we're only 8 games in, Joe. I know we're only 8 games in. But 8 games in is more than 20% of the season. It's more than 20% of the season. So I know no one cares until 10, and then you're more than 25% of the season through. But we're getting there. What chance, asking for a percentage chance, do you guys give us of staying top 10, making Europe, I won't even specify where, and making Champions League? Whoever wants to take it first can go.
All right, top 10 for me is a 80% chance. That the new side of Brighton that I saw this weekend has just given me even more confidence that we can really stick it out when things are getting tough on the pitch, and as I say, even if we're not playing well, can still get results. Europe, I would give us a 40% chance of getting Europe. Champions League, I would say, oh gosh. And this is me being the tainted English fan I am, Dagan, before you get your American optimism in there. It's probably like a 5% chance of Champions League. I think it's an extremely tough ask given the teams that are fighting, but we are seeing vulnerabilities to those teams that will be challenging. So that's maybe a point that we can talk about a little bit further. Just before we go on to anyone else, I just want to highlight a comment in the chat, which maybe we can talk about after Dagan. Adrian saying, do you think Evan is struggling with Fabian's system or just with confidence? So maybe that's something we could sort of highlight afterwards, but I'll let the other guys go on for their percentages.
Who's up?
Want me to go?
Go for it.
Okay. I don't like these games. I don't like this is on video. I'm being recorded as well, so I never like this. I'm gonna put a note somewhere, one way or the other. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna go 80, 50, 10. So I think, probably. Is that what you said, Joe, as well? Is that exactly what you said? Because I just wrote it down. I wasn't really listening to you, so I was trying to write down numbers.
So I think 80.
No, 80, 10. I think that's about right. I think. I don't know. I want to be more optimistic about Europe, but I'm not yet. But I think I will be come Christmas, come New Year. Let's see where we are there. That's when I always like to see. But yeah, that's mine.
Talk to me, Chloe. How you feeling?
These numbers I've just sort of randomly come up with. I think we've got an 83% chance of achieving top 10. I think realistically we probably will finish in there this season. Europe, I've gone a little bit more optimistic. I have said 45% chance. And Champions League, I've gone with a 18% chance.
I like it.
What about you then, Dagan? 100 for everything?
Not quite. Close. I would say a 90+% chance of staying top 10. I feel really confident that what we're seeing and the depth that we have. And again, it's a deep league. I mean, Man U is 11th right now. So there's a lot of tough teams, and there are a lot of games that can be won by anybody. So nothing's a given. But I really do like our chances of staying there. I think Europe is more of a toss-up, but I still would give us a more than 50% chance. I would say 60% for Europe. And I'll say part of that is because I'm assuming that means top 8. Because I'm betting that England will add the extra spot that we didn't get this past year. So that helps my math. Champions League, again, I think there's gonna be a 5th spot for Champions League. So that affects my logic too. I would give us a 25% chance of staying right where we are. That doesn't sound insane to me. Yes, the competition is tough, but some of the teams ahead of us are playing Champions League. All of the teams around us are playing in Europe. We have a lighter schedule and as deep a team as these teams. It's why I still will not rule out that we could win the league. I know no one wants to hear it. I'm not saying we're going to do it. I'm just saying it's possible. This team is good enough to beat any team in the Premier League. And if you watch City play against Wolves, they're beatable. They are absolutely beatable and should not have come away with 3 points yesterday at Wolves. Which brings me to next week. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I'm really excited. One, because as you know, Dagan, as well, Glenn from Ohio, BHASC in Ohio, I think is his Twitter, is coming over to the Amex for his first ever Albion game at home. He went to the summer series. I can't wait to meet Glenn. We've been chatting for near on a year now, and yeah, I'm just so happy that he gets to experience that. It's you next, Dagan. You're coming next. I promise. We will get you there. Yeah, really excited. I did see a stat that's made me less excited because I think Wolves have lost their last 6 games and are in desperate need of a Premier League win. And who's best to give them that than Dr. Brighton Hove Albion? We'll see you next. And we will cure that for you. I'm a bit terrified of that because that just seems to be a trend that we like to put things right for teams and put it wrong for us. But yeah, I'm really excited. See if we can keep this run going. We've got so much to build on from this week's performance. And if we can defend like we defended and attack like we know how we can, with Matoma on the pitch, hopefully, with Guba Minter back, get a bit of pace back in there, get that sort of directness back in our attack and just go at them. Wolves are vulnerable. They played really well yesterday, but they are vulnerable. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Very excited for this weekend.
What's your scoreline, Joe?
In view of being very optimistic for Glenn to see a very good game at the Amex, I'm going to say a 4-0 win for the Albion.
Wow. Who wants to follow that? You can go straight into an score, or you can give an explanation. I'll leave it to you two. Alex, Chloe, who wants to go?
I'll go if you want. I mean, like, yeah, I'm optimistic against Wolves. I think we've got a pretty good record. We have had a couple of nasty games against them. Not so recently, but I think we're all right at the moment. They're desperate, and they'll need to come out, and I think that'll play right into our hands. They haven't been as effective. There is a team there. I think we all know that. I mean, there is great players in that Wolves team, especially in their attacking lineup. They've got some really decent players and a threat. But I think we can handle anything. I think we'll concede. So I'm going to go 3-1. But I think, yeah, it'll be a decent match on the back of some really good results coming into the Amex, which will be buoyant, I think, next Saturday. I think the energy is going to be there. We're really starting to make some atmosphere there as well, which will be good. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But it's worth noting, I guess, after that, we've got 3 matches which aren't so nice. So we've got Liverpool away, Liverpool at home, and then City at home, and then an international break again. So, you know, this Wolves win sets us up nicely, I think, for 2 very difficult encounters in the league. We would have played all of the Sky Six at that point, right? I think after we played City, and we'll be 11 matches in. So, and we'll have an idea of whether we're going to go on that cup rampage as well. So, I think after the City game, that's, you know, that next international break, let's see where we are there. That's going to be a very, very interesting perspective at that point to see where we are, I think.
We will have learned a lot about ourselves, whether we are a contender or pretender, perhaps. We shall see. Chloe, what do you think about this Wolves game?
I feel quite nervous. We tend to do quite well against Wolves, which makes me more nervous than if it was a team we often lose to. There's no rationality behind that, I know, but it's just how I feel. I hope they don't just sit back and defend, but they might do. And we do tend to struggle against teams that we should be. I hate saying that, but, you know, teams at the lower end of the table that you might expect us to get a good result against. But hopefully we can score a few goals and get a positive result. I do think we probably will concede. And I'm going to go a 2-1.
Okay.
One thing, Dagan, just before we go on to yourself, one thing that makes me slightly worried about, as you say, Chloe, them just coming and parking the bus, is that their manager before the Man City game, as he would rightly be sort of very conservative about how he went about answering the media's questions, but he did say that they just want to start getting some points on the board. Whether that be 1 point away at the Amex, as you say, Chloe, like that could just set up for a dreadful 0-0 like we saw against Ipswich. So I hope not. As you say, I think it was Alex that said that they need to come out, and that might play into our hands. So yeah, fingers crossed. What about you, Dagan?
I was with Chloe on the 2-1. I think they will come out set up to defend. I think we'll find a way through. I think just law of averages, they likely will too, but who knows? Maybe we'll keep another clean. I was vacillating between 2-1 and 2-0. So I guess I could say 2-0 to be different and agree with Phil in the chat, who also said 2-0, but I'll stick with Chloe 2-1. That was my initial gut instinct.
Dagan, can I also give a quick shout out?
Absolutely.
To, like I always like to do at the start of the season, to the guys over at Dogma. I mean,
look at that.
Look at all of this amazing Brighton and Hove Albion football content that you can get delivered to your door for the cheap old price. I think, and it's a really nice touch. You've gone all blurry, Alex. It's a really nice touch. I paid £19.01 for all 3 issues to be delivered on my door as soon as it comes out. You get some really awesome stickers. I really enjoyed this one. There you go. There you get a lovely postcard sort of thing. It's like beer cans and stuff.
Oh, that's what Alex was holding up. Yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay, cool.
We couldn't see it, but that is the same looking thing.
Yeah, 3 issues across this season. As I say, £19 and 1 pence, 1901. Lovely. I love seeing that on my bank statement. It was very cool. But yeah, go and support the guys. They do incredible work. It's all non-profit. It all goes back into what they do. There's some incredible artwork around the city as well that you can go and look at. But yeah, go and support these guys because it's completely fan-led, and they're amazing. So yeah, Dogma, do it. Support them. Thank you.
Very nice. I do want to come back, Alex, and I know we're getting ahead, but just looking ahead as you did. Liverpool in this cup match. It's really interesting looking at what Liverpool has ahead. So here's their schedule before the cup match. Wednesday the 23rd, Leipzig in the Champions League away. Followed up Sunday the 27th, Arsenal away. And then Wednesday the 30th is the cup match against us at Brighton. Then they host us on the 2nd of November. After that, they're hosting Leverkusen in the Champions League. Then they host Villa that weekend. Then we get the international break. But I mean, that is a gauntlet. And my hope is that if they're going to look for an opportunity to rest some players, it just may be in that cup match. Whereas for us, that's our one midweek game in a string of weeks. Hopefully we are able to put out, a really, really strong group. And if we get past them.
And I guess the other thing to say about that is the players coming back from injury as well, Dagan. We've got some players coming back as well. Obviously, JP's got to come back. O'Reilly's got to come back. There's March. Hopefully at some point he's going to come back. And, there's going to be opportunities in that cup match for players returning from injury. And, we've seen Hürzeler's not afraid to do that. And actually he's quite happy to do that. Gruder's got to get some minutes, right? There's players all over the shop. You just think these guys are going to get some minutes somewhere. So we're in a very good position, I think.
Roders is calling out our shirts. Alex's is in better shape than mine, to be fair. It is the same shirt, but his is in better shape. My skint is looking skint.
This was completely planned, by the way, guys. Completely planned.
I had on last year's away shirt. I felt out of place, so I did change. Decided to be twins. Alex and I really are the Schwarzenegger and DeVito version of twins. It's like complete polar opposites.
Talking shirts, I have now decided who I'm getting printed on my shirts. It's taken me a while, but I have decided. On this one, it's going to be, and this might shock you guys, James Milner. Right? Okay. Calm down. Don't come at me. But the away shirt, Danny Welbeck. Gotta be. Has to be. So yeah, I felt like I wanted to get those two because I found myself over the weekend reminiscing of times that weren't so good for Brighton, and the fact that we've got James Milner and Danny Welbeck in our squad is just amazing. And how far this football club's come, I love it. So yeah, I'm getting those two on the backs of my shirts. Useless knowledge for nobody. No one wanted to know that, but now you do.
Milner's a bold choice. I'm very pleased. Obviously, with sad news about Milner after last week, that he's got another few weeks out with injury, I suppose it's a bit of a bummer. But just wanted to go to another comment as well, if that's all right. It was from Adrian again. He's very excited about O'Reilly, and I guess from the very small amount we've seen of O'Reilly, I'm really excited about seeing that guy as well. And again, where we're going to fit him in the competition to get in that place is going to be really, really good. So another dynamic. And of course, we've got someone else joining us in January as well, Dagan.
Oh, Diego, my friend.
So excited for that guy to play in the blue and white stripes. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Did you guys see he came on in the 57th minute the other night, Diego Gomez for Miami, 2-2 game. Some other guy came on in the 58th minute, a minute later.
Yeah, some Argentinian wonder kid. Yeah. No idea who that is. Yeah.
But they proceeded to go on a rampage. Diego without the fanfare of Messi. But Messi with an assist 1 minute after checking in, give him the lead, and then he went on to have a hat trick eventually. Incredible stuff. But exciting to get Diego over, because I think though he didn't show up in the scorebook, he did make an impact on that match. And I think he'll make an impact for us once he gets bedded in and ready, if we can find a spot for him.
Another comment, Dagan, that we've got from Rodders is, do you think the curse of the yellow shirt has now been lifted?
I know nothing of
Definitely.
curses. I know nothing of curses. There are no curses.
Oh, Dagan, you weren't here for the curse yellow shirt.
Uh,
We won one game.
I know.
That shirt, and it was after extra time against Championship West Brom.
No, I'm well aware of the stories. I just chalk them up as a folklore that couldn't possibly be true. I'm not looking up those stats. Yeah, Phil is reminding us not to forget the discussion about Ferguson. Do you guys want me to take that one? Because I do have a thought. I think there's a real question about his fit in the system. That's what I would say. Because we play such a moving and passing centric, and he is more of the prototypical striker. Yes, he can drop deep, and yes, he can play a pass, but he's a finisher. And this system is much more egalitarian than that. And I know we're seeing WELBECK score the goals, but it's WELBECK dropping deep into space, playing the ball wide, making a run, getting it back, right? He's not playing that sort of poacher kind of role where he's just sitting up top and, pounding in the goals. And I think Ferguson is probably at his best when he's, able to isolate and, be a traditional striker in sort of the Harry Kane mold. And I know Kane could drop deep and play those passes too, but I don't know. I just can't help but wonder if that's why he's not finding his way into more time and not just the health.
I think for me, it's the fact that to get Evan Ferguson back to the striker we know he can be is that he needs a consistent big run of games to do that and a bit of time. And I don't think in what we're trying to compete for this season, we've got the time to wait for Evan Ferguson to come good. And it is going to be that cutthroat that if you're not scoring goals and making an impact straight away, we've got Jorginho Rutter, João Pedro, Daniel Welbeck all ahead of you. Rajan Gruda when he comes in as well. That you're not going to get the opportunity. So I think the best thing for Evan Ferguson, in my opinion, would be a loan move somewhere, but a top loan move. I don't think he needs to go to the Championship. I think he needs to go somewhere where he can be the guy and have a little bit of time. I don't think he gets that in this team because I think there's too many good players around him.
I think I agree. Yeah, I'd like to see him go Europe, maybe followed kind of. There's another player, Barco. There's so many players that you just think, oh my gosh. And also, I was going to bring up Buonanotte. He's obviously one of my favourites, but yeah, somewhere in Europe. And get him some minutes. I think I completely agree with you there, Joe. I think mentally he went after the injury, and I wonder, and I know this is controversial, people don't like to hear it, but you do hear some of the stories about RDZ's managerial techniques and whether or not he rubbed Ferguson up the wrong way and he didn't get him, didn't manage him quite in the right way on his way back from injury. I don't know, but it's undeniable that mentally, as well as physically, obviously after the injury, but mentally he hasn't got back to where he was before. The confidence seems to have gone, and I don't know why that is. So yeah, I think a good run, nice European run for him would do him the world of good.
Yeah. Just feels like a long stretch where we haven't seen him even have the ball at his feet in the positions where he was scoring goals. Like, I don't feel like it's like he's getting great chances and he's not finishing those chances. He's just not getting chances. And that's the part to me that's kind of bizarre. That makes me lean more.
Sam, sorry. You have to remember that Harry Kane was playing for Norwich on loan at his age.
Yeah.
It's a good shout.
Yeah. And that's the struggle, right? Is we're not Norwich right now. We're battling for Champions League. I think Evan Ferguson.
And another important thing for people to remember as well, like if Evan Ferguson has another bad season this season, it's not going to automatically make him a terrible player. Yeah. He's still got loads of time on his side, and as I say, all he needs is time. I think we all know the quality's there. This time last year he was scoring a hat-trick against Newcastle, and we were saying that he's going to be the next Erling Haaland. And Erling Haaland has posters of Evan Ferguson on his bedroom wall. So soon enough, that will come back. And yeah, as I say, lots of time, lots of patience. He's a very young guy.
Yeah. Be really interesting to see if we have everybody fit coming into January. Would we send him on a 6-month loan? I wouldn't want to lose him for a whole year for me. And we don't have a ton of depth in that role. We have some. Anyway, thanks for the prompt. Who was that initially prompted us? Was that Adrian?
I think it was Adrian. Let me have a look.
Someone. It might be me saying I actually said he didn't play very well, did I? I think people reacted to that. So it might be me being a bit nasty about it, but yeah. All with love. All with love.
It was Adrian.
He's back. Buonanotte. Can we mention him quick?
Go for it.
I think the guys know, and maybe other people don't know, but I love Facundo as a big voice for Facundo last season. I thought he did really, really well, was growing well. I was gutted when he went on loan, but oh my word, what a great loan, and really working out for him there at Leicester. And I think actually it could work out well for us when we do play Leicester, because he won't be able to play. And they're relying on him quite a lot at the moment, so that's quite good. But yeah, what is it? Two goals and a few assists as well, I think. He's fiery. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant to see him get him to play his game and in a good, expansive team. So yeah.
Someone pointed out about the Facundo Buonanotte loan and how clever it was that if he does come into a really good reign of form for Leicester and, for example, puts in a 10 out of 10 performance against, I don't know, let's say, for example, Aston Villa, and takes points off of them, that's taking points off of people that we're challenging with for Europe. So again, a masterstroke from Tony Bloom and our recruitment team and our pathway team as well, that need a lot of credit for a lot of our loan players that go out and have really successful times. So yeah, another string to the bow of this wonderful football club.
Yeah. Sam, good shot there again. Showing what he can do when he gets time at the 10. Yeah. That's what we said many times as De Zerbi was trying to force him onto the right wing because he was left-footed. Yeah. That was a fun one. We had a little sort of side trek journey there. Excited for the weeks ahead. 5th place through 8 games. See where we land. Big games ahead. Big games ahead. It's heady times. Heady times at the Albion. Anything else for good of the cause, Joe?
I don't think so. I just want to give sorry, hello. There you go. That's why I'm not hosting, because I'm squeaking every time I talk. I want to give another very big thank you to the Sports Social Network, who have happily signed us up to their wonderful network. And we are also not working alongside, but we're working on the same network as the official Brighton Hove Albion podcast, which I'm very proud of, very happy about. Whether that changes things, it remains to be seen. But I want to give them a big thank you for believing in our projects and having us sign up to their wonderful podcast network alongside loads of other football and sports creators. So yeah, big shout out to them.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Alex and Chloe and Joe. On behalf of all of us, all you listeners and watchers, wherever you may be, whenever you may be, thank you so much for listening. Be well. Good afternoon.
Cheers.